Section 1. Before it was cool, prehistoric Britain, and those Roman holidaymakers. Picture this. Britain, a land before time, well, before recorded history anyway. A place where the landscape was untamed, and nature ruled supreme. We're talking woolly mammoths roaming free, Stonehenge still under construction, clearly a project management nightmare, and the ancestors of the Britons painting their bums blue. These early inhabitants were resourceful, adapting to the harsh conditions, and making the most of what the land had to offer. It was wild, it was woolly, and frankly, a bit chilly. The climate was unforgiving, but it shaped the resilience and ingenuity of the people who lived there. Then, in 55 BC, those toga-loving Romans rocked up led by Julius Caesar. They arrived with grand ambitions and a curiosity about this mysterious land across the sea. They'd heard rumors of pearls, spoiler alert, there weren't any, but the allure of new territories and resources was too tempting to resist. Still, they decided to stick around, bringing roads, baths, and underfloor heating. Talk about civilized. Their influence began to transform the landscape and the way of life for the inhabitants. They weren't exactly welcomed with open arms though. The local tribes, fiercely independent and proud, resisted the Roman incursion. Those rebellious Celts, led by Queen Boudica, gave the Romans a run for their money. Her leadership and defiance became legendary, symbolizing the spirit of resistance. Eventually, the Romans called it a day and headed home, leaving Britain to its own devices. Their departure marked the end of an era, but their legacy remained in the ruins and roads they left behind. Little did they know, things were about to get interesting. The stage was set for a new chapter in Britain's history. The Angles, Saxons, and Jutes decided to pop over for a visit, and let's just say they weren't there for a cuppa and a chat. Their arrival would bring about significant changes, laying the foundations for the future of Britain. Section 2. Medieval Mayhem. Knights, castles, and really bad dental plans. The Middle Ages were a time of great upheaval and transformation, where knights roamed the land, castles dotted the landscape, and dental care was, well, practically non-existent. Fast forward a few centuries and Britain's a patchwork quilt of kingdoms with everyone vying for power. These were times of constant conflict and shifting alliances, where the map of Britain was redrawn more times than anyone could count. Cue the Vikings, those bearded raiders with a penchant for longboats and looting. They were not just fearsome warriors but also skilled navigators and traders, leaving a lasting impact on the British Isles. They descended upon the coast like an angry seafaring flash mob, adding a bit of Scandinavian spice to the mix. Their raids were swift and brutal, forever changing the coastal communities they targeted. Then came William the Conqueror, a Norman duke with a point to prove and a rather large army to back it up. His ambition knew no bounds, and he set his sights on conquering England. The Battle of Hastings in 1066 saw the end of Anglo-Saxon rule and the beginning of the Norman era. This pivotal battle reshaped the future of England, bringing Norman customs, laws, and architecture. Castles popped up like mushrooms. The French language got a serious workout, and poor old King Harold got an arrow in the eye. Ouch. The Normans left an indelible mark on the English landscape and culture. The Middle Ages were a wild ride of battles, plagues, and religious fervor. It was a time when life was unpredictable, and survival often depended on one's wits and luck. We're talking the Crusades, the Magna Carta, early attempt at democracy, good effort, and the Black Death, not so good. These events shaped the course of history, leaving a legacy that still resonates today. Through it all, the monarchy evolved, the English language found its feet, and somewhere along the way, someone invented the pie. Silver linings, eh? Despite the chaos, these developments laid the groundwork for the modern world. Section 3. Tudors, Stuarts, and religious squabbles, not your average family drama. Ah, the Tudors, the Kennedys of their day, powerful, dramatic, and more than a little bit dysfunctional. Their reign was marked by intrigue, betrayal, and a whole lot of drama. Henry VIII, with his 6 wives, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, catchy, right? Took center stage, breaking from the Catholic Church and creating the Church of England. His quest for a male heir led to a series of marriages and a seismic religious shift, all because he fancied a divorce. Awkward. His court was a hotbed of political maneuvering and personal vendettas. His daughter, Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, knew how to rock a ruff and rule a nation. She was a master of image and authority, balancing power with a carefully crafted persona. She saw off the Spanish Armada, encouraged exploration, and ushered in a golden age of art and literature. Shakespeare, anyone? Her reign was a time of unprecedented cultural flourishing, but the Tudors couldn't hold on to the throne forever. Their dynasty ended with Elizabeth, leaving a power vacuum and a nation on the brink of change. Enter the Stuarts, a right royal bunch with a penchant for absolutism and a serious lack of PR skills. They believed in the divine right of kings, which didn't sit well with everyone. Cue the English Civil War, a right royal showdown between the crown and parliament, with a side of Puritanism thrown in for good measure. It was a brutal conflict that reshaped the nation. Heads literally rolled, looking at you, Charles I, and Britain briefly became a republic. Who knew? The execution of a king was a shocking event that reverberated across Europe. Section 4. Tea, Empire, and Industrial Strength. Britain gets busy. By the 18th century, Britain was brewing up a storm, and not just the tea kind. The Industrial Revolution kicked off, powered by coal, steam, and a healthy dose of ingenuity. Factories sprang up, cities swelled, and Britain became the workshop of the world. Sure, there were some teething problems, child labor, pollution, and the rise of the working class, but hey, progress, right? Meanwhile, the British Empire was expanding faster than a teenager's appetite. From India to the Americas, the Union Jack was planted on every continent, except Antarctica, too chilly, even for the Brits. It was the era of exploration, exploitation, and a seemingly insatiable thirst for tea. All those colonies came in handy. Section 5. World Wars, Welfare States, and Saying Goodbye to Empire, the 20th Century. The 20th century brought about some serious growing pains for Britain. 2 world wars tested the nation's mettle, leaving scars both physical and emotional. The Blitz, the Battle of Britain, D-Day, these events shaped a generation and cemented Britain's place on the world stage. After the war, a new era dawned. The welfare state emerged, providing a safety net for all. The NHS, National Health Service, became a source of national pride, and occasional frustration, let's be honest. But the empire was crumbling, with former colonies demanding independence. It was a time of change, of letting go, and of forging a new identity in a rapidly changing world. Section 6. Cool Britannia and Brexit Blues navigating the new millennium. The late 20th century saw Britain embrace its quirky side. Cool Britannia was in full swing, with Britpop, Britart, and a certain boy wizard taking the world by storm. The monarchy, after a few bumpy years, we're looking at you, Diana drama, seemed to regain its footing, but just when things seemed to be going swimmingly, Brexit happened. The 2016 referendum divided the nation, pitting Leave against Remain in a battle for the soul of Britain. The fallout continues to this day, leaving many wondering, what have we done? Section 7, the United Kingdom today, a right royal mishmash. So here we are in 2025, looking back on a history as rich and varied as a full English breakfast. The United Kingdom is a nation of contradictions. Ancient and modern, traditional and progressive, fiercely independent yet inextricably linked to the rest of the world. From the prehistoric monument builders to the digital entrepreneurs of today, Britain has always been a land of innovation, creativity, and a healthy dose of eccentricity. We've had our ups and downs, our triumphs and tragedies, but through it all, we've retained our sense of humor and our love of a good cuppa. Who knows what the future holds? One thing's for sure, it's bound to be interesting.